Teacher, I want to sit at the same table with a girl. Just when the head teacher arranged Lindsason's seat next to me, I raised my hand. This action was met with the sound of students whispering. The head teacher patted the podium, signaled the students to be quiet, and then asked me, why? Because in the first year after Lindsason married me, he let me die in the fire in order to be with another woman. Yes, I was reborn on the day I met Lindsason, 10 years ago. On the day Lindsason became my deskmate, I was as excited as all the girls in the class. From then on, I started my long journey of chasing my husband, and I wanted to pick all the stars in the sky for him. In the end, he ended up with such a tragic death. In the next life, I must stay away from him. Because I want to study hard. He is so handsome. I am not good at concentration, and I am afraid that I will be distracted. I said this sentence righteously. The teacher probably didn't expect me to say it so bluntly, and was stunned for a moment. Finally, I was given a new deskmate. You're good at playing hard to get. Gu Chennan, my new deskmate, threw his school bag on the table next to me and raised his eyebrows at me. I tried to recall some information about him. I vaguely remember that he seemed to be a sports student and rarely came to class. What do you mean by playing hard to get? Gu Chennan sat down next to me and tilted his head to look at Lindsason, who was surrounded by girls. You like that boy? I was stunned. I followed his gaze. Lindsason sat in his seat, his back straight in a white shirt. He was still the same look I liked back then. I don't like it. I quickly retracted my gaze and began to pack up the books on my desk. Gu Chennan suddenly turned around and approached me. He stared at me for a long time, and just when I frowned, he said, "You're lying." The eyes of someone you like won't lie. Gu Chennan was right. I still like Lindsason. I knew it the first time I saw him standing on the podium, but that was just a little bit of inertia left over from 10 years of liking. I love myself more. Gu Chennan is indeed a sports student. He only comes to 2 classes a day. There is no one around me most of the time. This really fulfilled what I said on the first day of school. I started to study seriously and really faded my love and attention for Lindsason. After 1 semester, my grades actually climbed to 2nd place, following closely behind Lindsason. For a while, I became the person who could best match Lindsason in the eyes of my classmates. What are you afraid of? She doesn't like Lindsason at all. The classmates in their class say that the two of them are incompatible. This is what I heard in the toilet during class. There was a faint sobbing sound from next door. The person who spoke continued, "Don't worry, you are so beautiful. Lindsason will like you sooner or later, really gentle and considerate. Besides, I heard that Song Jie likes Gu Chennan." The crying suddenly stopped, and a female voice asked softly, "Really, really? You don't believe it either, right? There are people who like Gu Chennan." I couldn't bear it anymore, so I pulled up my pants and stood up. I really don't like Lindsason. I kicked the door of the next room open and said to the 2 people who were scared inside, "But I don't like Gu Chennan either." The 2 people were so scared that they didn't dare to speak. I turned around and was about to leave, but stopped again. Also, Gu Chennan is not that kind of person. He is 10,000 times better than Lindsason. After saying this, I left the toilet without looking back. When I returned to the classroom, I saw that Gu Chennan, who was not there in the last class, had already sat in his seat. He turned the pen in his hand and raised his eyebrows at me. "Hey, who offended you?" I shook my head. At least he shouldn't watch me die in the fire indifferently. Lindsason and I were both selected as school representatives because of our excellent grades and good looks. We represented the school to participate in the speech contest in the city. Along the way, I avoided being alone with him until the backstage of the speech contest. He stood behind me and asked me in a low voice, "I have never understood why you hate me so much." I didn't expect him to take the initiative to talk to me. Song Jie, seeing that I didn't say anything, he called my name. This is the first time I heard him call my name after my rebirth. It's really nice. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and then turned to look at him. I hate people who are good-looking and have good grades. He was stunned for a moment, and suddenly laughed. "This reason is not valid." He looked at me with a smile. "You are also such a person. No one will hate themselves." In the last life, he never looked at me and smiled like this, even at the wedding, and he was wrong. some people will hate themselves. Now please invite Song Jie from No. 2 Middle School to give a speech. Before I could say anything else, the host in front called out my name. I straightened my back, took the microphone and walked onto the podium. Fortunately, I like myself now. I used to chase after Lindsayson and never got on such a big stage. I realized after living my life again that in addition to Lindsayson, there are many things I should pursue more. Hey, isn't this my deskmate? As soon as I left the lecture hall, I ran into Gu Chennan. He glanced at Lindsayson behind me, and then looked at me meaningfully. Why are you here? I was afraid that he would talk nonsense, so I hurried forward and pulled him away, while letting me pull him away. He looked back at Lindsayson, who was holding out his hand, and asked me nonchalantly, "Are you so guilty?" I rolled my eyes at him. "Guilty ass. You came at the right time. I don't want to go back with Lindsayson. Gu Chennan is a member of the swimming team." I sat in the huge gymnasium and watched him compete for the first time. He stood on the starting platform in swimming trunks, looking at me from a distance. I seemed to see his ruffian expression, and with a gunshot, he plunged into the water. At this moment, I realized that he seemed to be more handsome than Lindsayson. The most important thing is that he has chest muscles and abdominal muscles that Lindsayson does not have. He is only 17 years old. He is trained so well. I was thinking about all kinds of things in my mind. And when I came to my senses, Gu Chennan had already reached the finish line first. He waved at me in a ruffian manner. Sure enough, he is 10,000 times better than Lindsayson. After my speech, I left Lindsayson and ran to watch Gu Chennan's competition. The news that I went back to school with Gu Chennan quickly spread. Lindsayson's fans are becoming less and less hostile to me, but I forgot that Gu Chennan is not a good person either. Are you Song Jie? I was blocked on my way home from school. The people in front of me looked like gangsters because of their clothes. I lied with my eyes wide open. "I'm not," the leading girl asked the girl next to her. "Are you mistaken?" While they were still discussing, Lindsayson, who was not far away, called me, "Song Jie, he is sick, he is really sick. It was not enough to kill me in the last life, and he came again in this life." The leading girl sneered, "Dare you lie to me?" She took 2 steps towards me. I took 2 steps back. Lindsayson also found something wrong at this time and walked towards me. "What are you doing?" He scolded lightly. "Big brother. Isn't this going to annoy them even more?" The leading girl looked back at him and raised her eyebrows. "There is also a flower protector." Bullshit flower protector. Soon, Lindsayson and I were forced into a corner together. "What do you want to do?" Just when I thought we were going to be beaten up, a ruffian voice came from above my head. As soon as I looked up, I saw Gu Chennan jumping down from the wall. "Chennan." The leading girl was a little embarrassed. Gu Chennan looked at her and said, "You know, I don't hit girls. This is why many girls in the school don't like Gu Chennan. He is a gangster who fights. This is not a very glorious thing in a key high school. Next time you do this to my deskmate." Gu Chennan put his school bag on his shoulder and walked towards me. "Then I won't promise." After hearing this, the group of people didn't dare to say a word and all dispersed. "Look at it, look at him. This is the flower protector. At least I saved you, don't you thank me?" Gu Chennan walked slowly behind me with a bag on one shoulder, and his tone was a little unkind. His unkindness was not to me. I turned around and saw that he and Lindsayson behind me stopped at the same time. Lindsayson's slightly frowned brows also showed his displeasure. "I know him. He has always disliked little hooligans like Gu Chennan, but it has nothing to do with me." Gu Chennan, "Thank you for today." I took over Gu Chennan's words to Lindsayson. "I want to go home early, so I'll leave first." The 2 people who were still on the verge of a fight turned to look at me when they heard what I said. "I'll take you," they said almost in unison. "Song Jie, this is the award certificate for the speech contest." Lindsayson frowned slightly and looked at Gu Chennan, then handed the certificate in his hand to me. "I'm afraid someone will cause trouble for you later. I'll take you back." I took the certificate, and before I said the word "no need," I heard Gu Chennan sneer. He walked a few steps to my side and put his arm around my shoulders. "Squad leader Lin, you should protect yourself first." After saying that, he raised his eyebrows at me in a ruffian way. "Come on, I will protect you." I was a little irritable, but he made me laugh all of a sudden. I put my elbow on his stomach, broke away from him and walked towards home, waving at him with my back turned. No need, I'm not a delicate queen, I have plenty of means and strength. Ji Chennan's thunderous laughter came from behind. I don't know if it was infected by his laughter, but I also raised the corners of my mouth unconsciously. The disgust and irritation caused by Lindsason's approach just now also disappeared. There's nothing wrong with the little ruffian. I was led astray by Lindsason before. When I woke up, a fire suddenly broke out in the house. I was so scared that I hurriedly got out of bed and wanted to run, but found that even the door was blocked by fire. In the end, I could only hide in the balcony with a wet towel. What I didn't expect was that I received a message just after I hung up the 119 call. It was a photo of Lindsason and a disheveled woman. I looked at the photo on my phone, and the blood in my body seemed to freeze. The fear seemed to be poured out by a basin of ice water in an instant. Zason, there's a fire at home. I sent a message to Lindsason, who was not supposed to go to work today. Because he said he didn't like me calling him when he was working, I never called him. Even now, I still send a message out of habit. It took a while before I received a reply. You put out the fire first. I'm in a meeting. I looked at the photo on my phone and laughed angrily. The sky was full of fire rushing towards me, and I seemed to hear the sound of the fire truck sirens vaguely. At this time, someone suddenly opened the door from outside. A beam of strong light shot in. Song Jie. You'll be late if you don't get up. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw my mother standing by the bed, looking like she couldn't do anything to me. The emotions in the dream just now had not dissipated yet. I sat up and hugged her tightly. Mom, I had a nightmare. It was a very scary dream. Mom patted my back gently. Sleeping in will cause nightmares. Who told you to sleep in? Mom, I'm not a child anymore. Oh, it's not easy to fool you. I laughed out loud. Fortunately, that scene was just a dream. My mother made such a fuss, and I felt much better. I got up obediently, washed, ate, and went out to school, but I didn't expect to see Ji Chennan as soon as I left the community gate. Ji Chennan spit out the bubble gum in his mouth nonchalantly and waved at me. What a coincidence. You live in this community. I nodded and continued to walk forward. You live in this community too. He shook his head and followed me slowly. I live in front and have to pass by here. Lindsason is sick. I'm not kidding. Song Jie, can you solve this problem? During a break, Lindsason suddenly walked to my seat. I was startled. Last night's dream was still clear in my mind, and I didn't want to see him again. I didn't stop working on the problem, and said in a low voice, "No, how do you know you can't solve it if you haven't seen it?" He really never did this before. I stopped writing and looked at the problem in his hand helplessly. Oh, it was the problem I just finished. No, I calmly turned a page in the exercise book with this problem in my hand. After Lindsason left, I turned my head and saw Ji Chennan lying on the table with his eyes open. The sunlight outside the window fell on his smiling eyebrows. Not only did he and Lindsason have two completely different personalities, but they were also two completely different looks, full of life. "What are you laughing at?" I asked him. He blinked. "I just think you used this tactic of playing hard to get well. It's not even a year yet." And he ran to you obediently. I picked up the exercise book in my hand and hit him on the head. "If you dare to say that again, I will tear your mouth." I raised my fist and waved it at him viciously. What he got in return was his unbridled laughter. His laughter was loud, attracting the whole class to look at us. I was anxious for a moment, and rushed over to cover his mouth. When he stopped laughing, I realized that something was wrong and quickly let him go, but he suddenly came over and stared at my eyes closely. Just when I wanted to punch him in the face, he smiled and lay back on the table. Well, I didn't lie this time. It seems that I really don't like him anymore. I didn't like him for a long time. 10 years of love was only left with inertial heartbeats at the moment of rebirth, and that little bit of heartbeat had long disappeared in nightmares again and again. Now I just want to stay away from him, farther and farther. It would be best if we never see each other again after the college entrance examination. Do you want to go to S City? Ji Chennan walked beside me, a little surprised by my answer. Why? Because I like it. In my last life, in order to follow Lindsason to be city, I didn't fill in any application for S-City, because I like it. I looked down at the shadow under the streetlight. I heard that there is freedom there. Jiyu Chennan is very tall, but the streetlight shrinks his shadow into a ball. It's a bit funny. Well, S-City is not bad. He kicked the stone at his feet, and there seemed to be some happiness in his voice that I couldn't hear. When we arrived at the gate of my community, I said goodbye to him and asked him, "Do you really live in the front?" He was slightly stunned. Then he said casually, "Yes. Do you want to go play?" "No." I grabbed my school bag and hurried inside. Later, I thought carefully that the reason why I didn't meet him on the road in my previous life might be because I was obsessed with following Linzerson at that time. I didn't take others seriously, not to mention Jiyu Chennan, who was the least favored by Linzerson. Not long after going to and from school with Jiyu Chennan, the semester was over. It was time to change seats again in the new semester of senior year. Linzerson and Jiyu Chennan should switch seats. The teacher stood on the podium and said this casually. I was stunned while doing exercises. Jiyu Chennan immediately raised his hand. I won't change. He was used to being lazy and often not in class, so the teachers didn't like him too much. The teacher frowned and asked unhappily, "Why not change?" "I like to bask in the sun," Jiyu Chennan said and opened the window. The sun was shining brightly outside. It fell on him, making him look particularly dazzling. Linzerson, who was sitting on the other side, also looked at me from a distance, as if he was determined to take Jiyu Chennan's position. I also raised my hand. "Teacher, the class monitor has good academic performance, and many students ask him questions during breaks. I am afraid that it will affect other students and also affect my study and that of the monitor. The implication is that Linzerson is sitting alone now, and being beautiful alone is the best choice." The teacher thought about it and felt that what I said made sense, but in the end, Jiyu Chennan and the girl sitting behind him changed seats. Jiyu Chennan was very satisfied with the result. He put the desk on his head and winked at me. "As long as you don't sit with Linzerson. It doesn't matter who you sit with. The study in the third year of high school is very intense. Even though this is my second experience, I still feel overwhelmed occasionally. Jiyu Chennan's training is getting more and more frequent, and he spends less and less time in the classroom. But there are more and more discussions about him. The girls who originally looked down on Jiyu Chennan began to turn against him because he won round after round of competitions. Except for his poor academic performance and bad temper, he has no other shortcomings. This is the conclusion given by my new deskmate Baikua when she discussed gossip with me. I didn't stop doing the questions, but I still added, "He has a good temper." Baikua didn't expect me to respond to gossip, and she couldn't help but come closer. "I also heard that you like him. Is it true?" This rumor happened a long time ago. I stopped writing and looked at her helplessly. "It's fake. How could I like him? Don't listen to their nonsense." As soon as I finished speaking, a bottle of water was placed on the corner of my desk. I turned around and saw Jiyu Chennan with some sweat on his forehead, a little embarrassed. That, after we looked at each other for a few seconds, I lowered my eyes to look at the water on the corner of the table. "How much is the water?" "I'll give it to you." Jiyu Chennan seemed angry. He didn't charge me for the water, nor did he talk to me. After he slept on the table for a class, Linzerson came. Linzerson put a form on my desk and said to me softly, "The teacher asked you to participate in this competition to fight for your admission." It would be a lie to say that I was not excited when I heard the word admission. I took the form without asking anything. But I didn't expect that I would participate in this competition with Linzerson. "Don't you know I'm coming, so you won't come?" Linzerson asked me when he sat next to me in the training class. I looked up at him. Now I can look at him calmly. How could that be? I politely moved away. "Admission is still very important, much more important than you." I don't know if my action was too obvious or the words were too cold. The smile on Linzerson's mouth froze for a moment. I ignored him and started to prepare for class. When I finished the questions and left get out of class, I looked up and saw Jiyu Chennan standing outside the classroom. He is no longer the same as before, and many girls came up to talk to him. "Do you like people like that?" Seeing me looking at Jiyu Chennan outside the classroom, Linzerson, who was sitting next to me, also looked over. His voice was faint. I turned around to look at him and answered firmly, I just don't like people like you. Why are you here? I asked Jiyu Chennan, who was walking beside me. You're not passing by again. He raised his hand and patted my head. There's a gym next to it, don't you know? I turned around subconsciously, and it was indeed a gym. Do you train at this time every day? I came to the training class after school, and it was already very late. Otherwise, do you think the championship is so easy to win? He blinked at me in a ruffian way. Saying this sentence in such a casual way made people feel that he won it easily. I smiled and nodded. Okay. I don't know if I have the honor to treat the champion to wontons. Please forgive my sins during the day. Wontons. I raised my chin towards a small stall on the roadside. Jiyu Chennan also looked at the wonton stand and curved his eyebrows. Then I'll give you this chance. But before the wontons were served, a woman came. The woman was wearing delicate makeup, a red dress, and high heels, and stood opposite Jiyu Chennan. Chennan. Her voice was soft and gentle. Jiyu Chennan looked up at her, and the smile on his lips disappeared in an instant. The woman looked familiar, but I couldn't remember who she was. After thinking for a long time, I looked at the bowl of wontons in front of me that originally belonged to Jiyu Chennan, and sighed. It seems that I am still sinful and can't even get a bowl of wontons out. Since Jiyu Chennan left with the woman that night, I haven't seen him for several days. I saw him again at the gate of my community. He stood there alone, in sharp contrast to his usual vigor. Jiyu Chennan. I called him. He looked up at me, and some light burst out in his indifferent eyes. I thought you were abducted. I haven't seen you for so long. I tried to use a joke to ease his depression. It seemed to work. He curled his lips slightly, came up and patted me on the head. Can you think of me a little better? Jiyu Chennan was injured. I pointed to a small piece of gauze on his leg. What's wrong here? He also looked down at his leg and then pulled his trouser leg. Maybe he pulled the wound. He took a breath, but still said stubbornly, It's okay. I haven't seen you for a few days. How did you get like this? I lifted his trouser leg and frowned at the gauze wrapped around his leg. He grabbed my hand and chuckled. I looked up at him with some doubts, but he lowered his head unexpectedly. His face was very close to mine, very close. So close that his breath could make my whole face hot. You care about me so much. He raised his ruffian eyebrows, and a swaggering smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. You won't fall in love with me, will you? I was shocked. I broke free from his hand and quickly stood up from the chair. What nonsense are you talking about, Song Jie? He looked up at me, and his eyes no longer looked like he was waiting for me at the gate of the community just now. It seemed that he had put all the stars in the sky into them, shining brightly. I said, Eyes don't lie. I couldn't care about much for a moment, and turned my back subconsciously. Jiyu Chennan, if you dare to talk nonsense, I will tear your mouth apart. I said this viciously, and ran back home without daring to look back. Jiyu Chennan opened his mouth without scruples. He was used to talking nonsense. I should have gotten used to it a long time ago, and shouldn't have reacted so strongly like today. Thinking of this, I turned over in bed and decided not to think about it anymore. Yes, I can't sleep. It's all Jiyu Chennan's fault. He talks nonsense all day long. I looked at Jiyu Chennan, who was waiting at the gate of the community with dark circles under my eyes. He seemed to be in a particularly good mood and waved at me. Good morning. What a bullshit. I ignored him and continued to walk forward. Because his leg was injured, he couldn't go to training for a period of time. So he stayed in the classroom to attend classes. Now the girls in the class are divided into two teams. One team is on Linzason's side, and the other team is on Jiyu Chennan's side. I raised my hand and was about to rub my temple when I heard Jiyu Chennan's impatient voice. I'm going to sleep, don't make noise. But the way he handled it was better than Linzason. I pursed my lips, a little happy. The results of the competition came out quickly. Linzason still took the first place as usual, and I took the second place. The teacher was very happy and said he wanted to treat us two to a meal. I wanted to say no, but I squeezed the trophy in my hand and agreed. Song Jie, Linzason waved at me as I walked into the restaurant. I sighed and walked in slowly. Is the teacher not here yet? I sat down opposite Linzason. He poured me a glass of water considerately. Maybe he was delayed by something. I nodded, then I slowly poured the water he poured into my cup into the bowl. Rinse the bowl, and rinse the chopsticks. Can you pour it out for me? Thank you. I politely stopped the waiter and handed over the bowl of water. I was afraid that drinking the water that Lindsayson poured for me would bring bad luck. Seeing my actions, he was not angry, and he also rinsed the bowl and chopsticks calmly. He deserves to be the first place. He will never embarrass himself. This time, the recommendation is successful, and we can continue to be in the same school in the future. Lindsayson looked up at me while rinsing the bowl. I was stunned. If this happened in my previous life, I would be so happy that I would wake up laughing in my dreams. Unfortunately, I could only take the entrance exam to a school not far from him. Can I only be admitted to one university? I looked at him with a smile. Then I want to take the college entrance examination and try. The lethality of this sentence may be enough, and his face froze for a moment. I pretended not to understand the embarrassment on his face and looked down at the time on my watch. It's been so long. If the teacher doesn't come, I'll leave first. After saying that, I carried my school bag and left. A few steps out of the restaurant, Lindsayson grabbed me. I don't understand. He was a little annoyed. What do you hate about me? I looked back at him. Under the streetlight, he didn't seem so high and mighty, and holding me was like I had held him countless times. Lindsayson. I broke away from his hand and asked him, "You don't like me, do you?" I said Lindsayson was sick. In my last life, I followed him around every day, wishing I could pick the stars in the sky for him, but he didn't even want to look at me twice. Now I don't even bother to look at him twice. And he actually likes me. He is indeed sick. The injured Jiyu Chennan sat next to me during the physical education class. I turned my head to look at him, and he pointed at Lindsayson, who was running on the playground, and said, "Look at him running weakly. He must have kidney deficiency. Puff, all the water I just drank sprayed out. Why do you hate him so much?" I asked Jiyu Chennan after screwing the bottle cap on. It seems that from the beginning, he was very hostile to Lindsayson. I remember that they had basically no intersection in the last life. Jiyu Chennan glanced at me, stood up from the steps, and while patting the dust on his hands, he walked in another direction. Because he deserves to be hated, it's the same as saying nothing. Before the physical education class was over, Baikua ran to sit next to me. You know what? Something big has happened. As soon as she sat down, she started gossiping with me. Ever since she sat next to me, I know all the gossip in the class. What big thing? Chu Tianhuai's mother went to the principal's office. I frowned. Who is Chu Tianhuai? It sounds familiar, don't you remember? It's the senior who is 2 grades higher than us. He is very rich and is picked up by a luxury car every day. It seems that I have some impression. There seems to be such a person in high school in my memory. I only saw him from a distance when I was in the first year of high school. Hasn't it been more than a year since graduation? Why did his mother come to school? Baikua looked around and whispered in my ear, when I passed by the principal's office just now. I heard them saying that Jiyu Chennan was the illegitimate son of Chu Tianhuai's father. Chu Tianhuai's mother is now arguing with the principal and asking the principal to expel Jiyu Chennan. How could this happen? I widened my eyes and looked at Baikua. Did you hear it wrong? Absolutely true. I suddenly thought of the charming woman who took Jiyu Chennan that day. When I thought about how Jiyu Chennan had such a good swimming talent, no one had ever heard of him winning any awards in swimming competitions. What happened to Jiyu Chennan in his previous life? The fact that Jiyu Chennan was an illegitimate child spread quickly. When I heard my classmates discussing it, I immediately looked at Baikua. She shook her head. I only told you. I looked at Jiyu Chennan's seat with some concern. It was empty. He should have heard these unbearable rumors. Song Jie, go get me something. Just as I was about to go find Jiyu Chennan, the chemistry teacher at the door called me. The chemistry laboratory was in another building, and the bell for class rang just as I walked in. I was thinking that I could only go to Jiyu Chennan after this class, while looking for the teaching utensils that the chemistry teacher wanted. At this moment, there was a sudden pop sound behind me. When I turned around, I found a small flame not far away. Since the fire, I can no longer face fire, and I will stay away from the gas stove at home. Now seeing the flames burning more and more, my legs softened and I collapsed directly to the ground. Come, help. I was shaking all over, crying and begging for help. watching the fire burning bigger and bigger. Just when I thought I would die in the fire again, someone suddenly rushed in. Song Jie. It was Jiyu Chennan. Help, save me, I cried breathlessly. Jiyu Chennan ran to my side, put his wet coat on me, and covered my eyes tightly with one hand. The sky full of fire was instantly replaced by endless darkness. It's okay, it's okay. Jiyu Chennan's voice was low and hoarse, as if he was very scared. I'm here, I'll take you out. It was like grabbing a life-saving straw in the dark. I held him tightly. It seemed that many people came at this time, and the surroundings were very noisy. Jiyu Chennan hugged me and walked all the way out. I don't know how long I walked before I heard Lin Zisun panting and asked, Song Jie, how are you? Hearing his voice, I seemed to be still in that sea of fire. A dizziness came over me. Before I fainted, I heard Jiyu Chennan's cold voice, stay away from her. I heard that being burned to death by fire is the most painful. I squatted in the corner of the balcony, watching the flames rushing towards me, with endless fear in my heart. Save me, save me. Just after I didn't know how many times I shouted, someone suddenly rushed in from the fire. It was 17-year-old Jiyu Chennan. He wrapped me tightly with his wet coat. Don't be afraid, Song Jie. He hugged me and coaxed me softly. I'm here, I'm here. The fire in the sky seemed to slowly retreat. I shivered because of the cold coat. Dr. Yi, is she okay? I heard Jiyu Chennan's voice in a daze. It's nothing serious, just frightened. She will be fine after waking up. The doctor's voice was a little far away. You should worry about yourself first. The principal is under pressure now. I opened my eyes after the doctor walked away. Jiyu Chennan stood in front of my bed. His clothes had traces of being burned by the fire, and his face was white and black. Are you awake? Seeing me open my eyes, his frowning eyebrows relaxed. I nodded, glanced at the door, and asked him, the principal wants to expel you. He was stunned for a moment and lowered his eyes slightly. You heard about it too. He pulled the corner of his mouth, with some self-deprecation in his tone. That was your mother that day. Yes, sure enough, it was just as I guessed, but I always felt that woman looked familiar, as if I had seen her somewhere before. Song Jie, he suddenly looked up at me. Yes, I am an illegitimate child. I was stunned. I really didn't expect him to be so straightforward. So what? I also looked at him. It's not your fault, whether it's your mother's fault or your father's fault, it's not your fault. Let adults solve adult matters. You just grow up well and try to become an adult who won't make mistakes. I don't know if the lights in the infirmary were too bright, but Jiyu Chennan's eyes were also bright. He raised his hand to rub my head. Okay, the fire in the laboratory and Jiyu Chennan's life experience became the hot spots of the school. What pushed this hot spot to a climax was that Jiyu Chennan's charming mother came to school. I don't know what she said to the principal. The principal led her into the office with a bitter smile and sent her out with a smile. After she came out of the principal's office, she did not leave the school, but stood outside our classroom and watched for a long time. I looked at the empty seat of Jiyu Chennan behind me and sighed. She probably won't be able to wait for Jiyu Chennan today. What I didn't expect was that she would stop me on the way home from school. Song Jie, she smiled and waved at me. I was stunned for a moment, but still walked towards her. Auntie, she curved her eyebrows at me. In this respect, Jiyu Chennan is very similar to her. You have grown up so much. I didn't expect this beginning. You were only this old at that time. She gestured in the air. It seems that you were only 6 years old, and you have become a big girl in the blink of an eye. She talked a lot to herself, according to her words. I tried hard to recall my 6 years old. It seemed to be a very distant memory, and I caught a clue in my mind. Auntie Jiyu, I called tentatively. She smiled and patted my head, acquiescing. When I was 6 years old, a mother and son moved in next door, and they only lived for less than half a year. I had long forgotten it in the long river of memory. I didn't expect that this mother and son were Jiyu Chennan and his mother. Tell Chennan that he doesn't need to worry about school matters. I have already solved them. This may be the real purpose of her looking for me. I nodded. Why don't you tell him yourself? She was stunned. Didn't Chennan tell you? She touched her belly. I'm married, and Chennan hasn't wanted to talk to me for several years. The identity of an illegitimate child, a remarried and pregnant mother. Why can Jiyu Chennan still be so lively and look like he is growing well on the surface? Jiyu Chennan. I found Jiyu Chennan, whom I hadn't seen for a few days, in the park not far from my home. He squatted alone in the bridge hole, holding an unburned cigarette in his hand. The dim streetlights fell on him, making him look extremely distressed at this time. Maybe this is what he originally looked like. He looked up at me and subconsciously threw the cigarette in his hand aside. I looked at the cigarette that had just gone out after falling to the ground, and walked over to pat him on the head. "Did you smoke?" He shook his head, then he spit out the bubblegum in his mouth to show me. "Why are you here?" He moved to the side to make room for me. I squatted down beside him. "Are you the only one who can come to this place?" He laughed. He looked really good when he laughed. Like a shooting star across the night sky. "Jiyu Chennan, why don't you come to school?" He picked up a stone and threw it into the river. "You won't be able to go to school in a few days anyway. Your mother came to school today." The hand he threw the stone froze in the air for a moment. "She went to the principal and won't expel you this time." The stone thrown into the river caused a big splash. Jiyu Chennan stood up from the ground. "She doesn't need to pretend. She got married and had someone else's child." He looked down at me, his eyes dim. "She got rid of that shameful identity, and the child was born legitimately, and he will get everyone's love and blessings." Song Jie, what about me? His voice was low and hoarse, like a needle piercing my heart. I stood up and met his gaze. "You have me, with me. You are also legitimate and worthy of everyone's love and blessings. Jiyu Chennan, come back to school, be with me." It should be at this time in the last life that Jiyu Chennan left school, and then there was no news of him. But this time, Jiyu Chennan came back. No one in the school discussed Jiyu Chennan's life experience anymore, and everyone entered the most intense state of study. A few months passed in a blink of an eye. On the day when the college entrance examination ended, the classmates who were once stretched to a thread were like wild horses that had broken free from their reins and reveled in the school. I stood quietly in the corridor, feeling more relaxed than ever before. At this time, Linzison walked towards me. He had been recommended for admission, but he still took the college entrance examination this time. Song Jie, he walked to my side and looked at the clouds in the sky with me. "Where do you want to go to college?" I asked him this question before. I looked at him sideways. Since I didn't like him, I found that he was just like that. Love is really an outrageous filter. "I will go to college in the city I like," I smiled and answered, "but it is definitely not a university in B City." He was stunned. Song Jie, he lowered his head to look at me. I also gave up the recommendation. I really didn't expect this. In this life, he seemed to be a completely different person. "If you want to go to S City, I am willing to go to S City with you." He said this very seriously. "I like you, be my girlfriend." I frowned and felt a little sick. Feng Shui turns around. I didn't expect it to turn to him now, but I was not very happy. At this time, Jiyu Chennan, who was standing downstairs, waved to me. My brows relaxed, and I smiled and waved at him. When I was about to turn around and go downstairs, I said to Linzison, "With your grades, you can go to City B even if you give up the recommendation." "Linzison, I don't like you," I said to him seriously, word by word. "I didn't like you before, I don't like you now, and I won't like you in the future. I will never like you. I don't like myself who gave up myself for you even more." What's good about Jiyu Chennan? He followed me closely, not giving up. He smokes, drinks, fights, and his grades are a mess. He's also a shameful illegitimate child. As soon as he finished speaking, I turned around and slapped him. Originally, I thought that his cheating was a mistake made by him 10 years later, and I shouldn't blame him now, so I only wanted to stay away from him. What I didn't expect was that he was such a person. Maybe I never understood him. He's better than you in every way. I was so angry that I laughed. "Linzison, what do you like about me? If I remember correctly, I never messed with you since you transferred here. Look behind you." I looked at the group of girls behind him. "So many girls are around you. You don't like them, but you have to like me. Are you a slut, or are you used to being high and mighty? So you like to conquer women like me who are not moved by you?" I looked at him coldly. "If I were the same as the girl behind you, would you still like me?" No, he may have never thought that a girl would say such words to him, stuck in place without moving. At this time, a girl couldn't stand it and stood up from behind him. Before the girl could say anything, Jiyu Chennan grabbed my hand from behind and ran downstairs. Jiyu Chennan dragged me and ran for a long time that day. The wind blew in front of me, lifting my hair. Jiyu Chennan laughed. Look, the wind is saying that you are free. I am free. Linzerson didn't come to the graduation party. The girls who like Linzerson looked at me as if they wanted to eat me up, but Jiyu Chennan sat next to me, and none of them dared to come up. I ate the fruit plate in the KTV and smiled at Jiyu Chennan. You are like my bodyguard now. I am happy. He raised his eyebrows and smiled ruffian. Everyone drank that day. Many classmates drank for the first time and were drunk. After sending the last female classmate who cursed at me home, I turned around and looked at Jiyu Chennan behind me. His ears were also pink. He drank a lot. We walked back side by side, and this time the street lights stretched our shadows very long. We were still a fist away from each other, but our shadows seemed to be tied together. Song Jie. Jiyu Chennan suddenly stopped. I looked at the shadow and stopped. I like you. He turned and looked at me. His eyes seemed to have always been like this, sparkling, wanting to suck people in. I lowered my head slightly and raised my hand to tuck my hair behind my ears. I knew it a long time ago, when he dragged me to watch his game after game. When he jumped down from the wall to stop the gang of hooligans. I have a shameful background. I am not good at studying, and I also fight. He repeated what Linzerson said that day one by one, but I don't smoke. I raised my hand and covered his mouth. His lips were cold and moved in my palm. Itchy, itchy palm, itchy heart. Your background is not your fault, I answered patiently one by one. Not everyone has to study well. You swim very well and always get first place. You can fight but never hit anyone randomly. And you can protect me. You are so nice. I blinked and tilted my head to look at him. I like you too. He was stunned. His eyes lit up again, as if all the stars in the sky were sprinkled into them. Really, really? Then we didn't talk anymore. I walked back to the gate of the community with a red face. At the gate of the community, when I was about to say goodbye, Jiyu Chennan suddenly asked me, "Do you want to taste bubblegum?" I was stunned. "It's sweet," he vowed. I nodded blankly and stretched out my hand, but he threw a bubblegum into his mouth and blew out a bubble, when I didn't know what he was going to do. He bent down slightly and touched the bubble on my lips. My mind was blank, and my tongue subconsciously licked my lips. With a pop, the bubble burst, and I came back to my senses. "Is it sweet?" Jiyu Chennan asked me with a smile. At that moment, the blood rushed directly to my forehead, and my whole face became hot. I stamped my feet, turned around and ran. "Not sweet at all," I lied. Jiyu Chennan and I both went to S-City. Because of his excellent swimming performance, he was admitted to our school as an exception. In S-City, all the rumors in the past are gone. As soon as Jiyu Chennan entered school, he was posted on the confession wall. "Hey, isn't this Jiyu Da's school hunk?" I sat in the cafe, looking at the person who just finished training and came to date me, and said sourly. Jiyu Chennan sat next to me with a smile. "What Jiyu Da's school hunk? There is only Song's school hunk's boyfriend here." I smiled and punched his chest muscles, and touched them by the way. It really is getting stronger and stronger, every time at this time. I feel like all this is like a dream. This is clearly my second time in college. But it seems that this is what college should be like, endless competitions to participate in, endless awards to win, and a boyfriend who treats me very well. Instead of waiting for me downstairs of the boys' dormitory every day, time passed beautifully and warmly. In a blink of an eye, 10 years have passed. It is September 8th again when I am 27 years old. I looked at the calendar on the wall and couldn't come back to my senses for a long time. It's been 10 years. Jiyu Chennan hugged me from behind and also looked at the calendar on the wall. "Yes, 10 years ago on this day I became your desk mate." "Yes," I smiled and turned around and hugged him. "Hurry up and get ready to go out, it's too late. Today is the last game he will participate in before retiring. It's very important." Originally, he didn't want to participate and wanted to stay at home with me. It was me who insisted that he participate. And I didn't want him to have any regrets about this matter. I watched him go out before curling up on the sofa again. I don't know how long it took, But suddenly there was a chat in the high school group saying that Lindsayson was getting married. Then someone sent a photo. It was a photo of Lindsayson and a woman. Unlike the photo I received 10 years ago, the woman was dressed properly, and her eyebrows and eyes were 50% similar to mine. Keir privately messaged me, "Lindsayson is really in love with you." "Don't, I can't afford it," I smiled back. The high school group was still chatting enthusiastically, and there were only photos of Lindsayson and that woman on my screen. Everything was different. It seemed to be slowly overlapping. I fell asleep again in a daze. The nightmare that I hadn't had for a long time came again. I was still helplessly huddled on the balcony, but this time I clicked on Gu Chennan's dialog box. I was about to type, but I suddenly stopped. I exited the chat interface and called Gu Chennan. Gu Chennan, who was originally participating in the competition, answered the phone. He was anxious and gentle on the other end of the phone. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." All the fears dissipated instantly. I woke up to the sound of a mobile phone ringing. Then I heard Gu Chennan's voice. "Whatever, I'm going to retire anyway. Just say that I have no sportsmanship." I struggled to wake up, and when I opened my eyes, I saw Gu Chennan standing in front of the French window. An unprecedented sense of security came over me. My nose was sore and tears fell. "Why are you back?" I asked Gu Chennan in a hoarse voice. He hung up the phone and looked back at me. I couldn't see the expression on his face against the light. I only knew that he was as warm as the sun. He asked me with a smile, "There was still soup in the pot, and you fell asleep. What would you do without me?" End of the text. Gu Chennan Extra. When I saw the news about the fire, I had just finished a meeting. "Mr. Gu, you have another meeting this afternoon." I loosened my tie and ran outside, my assistant chasing after me. Cancel all." I drove through countless red lights before I reached my destination. The downstairs was full of people, but Lindsayson was the only one missing. His house caught fire, but he didn't come back. "There," someone pointed to a balcony in a high-rise building. "It's the mistress of that house, Song Jie." I rushed in despite the police's obstruction. The elevator had stopped operating because of the fire. I climbed up floor by floor, but my heart grew colder. The fire was really big, in the end. I still fell outside the door. If it happened again, I would never shrink back and give her to someone else. I don't know if God has softened his heart. When I woke up again, I actually went back to 10 years ago. Then Gu Chennan should change his seat and sit next to Song Jie. When the teacher said this, I didn't know how happy I was. I started to approach Song Jie deliberately. I was the one who spread the rumor that she liked me. It didn't matter if she wanted to use me to play hard to get with Lindsayson at first, as long as she stayed by my side and I could protect her at all times. I no longer followed her quietly. I got up very early every morning, walked a long way to her community to wait for her, went to school with her, and went home with her. Every time Lindsayson wanted to get close to him, I would show up on time. I would pass by any place where she appeared, even if she said she didn't like me. What did it matter? She would like me sooner or later. Everything was going well, until that day, my mother, whom I hadn't seen for many years, showed up. I suddenly remembered the past that I couldn't bear to look back on. I suddenly realized my identity that I couldn't tell outsiders. No matter how I change, what is coming will still come. The man named Chu Tianhui still found me, and the thugs he hired were not something I could deal with. "You are just a bastard." He looked at me condescendingly. "Tell your mother to stay away from my house, and you will never enter my Chu family." I couldn't refute a word he said. This identity was suffocating me, and Song Jie was even more dazzling than in the previous life. So dazzling that I often asked myself if I was worthy of her. Do you think you are worthy of her? After the college entrance examination, Lindsayson found me and said the same thing to me. He knew that I liked Song Jie. He knew it a long time ago. This time I asked him back. Do you think you are worthy of her, worthy of the passionate love of Song Jie in the previous life? Before leaving, I looked back at him, and he was holding the coffee cup very hard. You had a chance to have her, I said calmly, but you didn't cherish her. If you don't cherish her, don't blame me for snatching her away. Because of Song Jie, I changed my path in this life. I didn't enter the Chu family because I was desperate. I climbed into the national team step by step. Soon it was my retirement day. Son, the entertainment industry has extended an olive branch to me, and I will be signed to an entertainment company after I retire. As long as I can bring a good life to Songjie, I am willing to do anything. But she insisted that I go to the competition on September 8th. I like the way you look on the court. I never refuse her request. Then come to watch my competition. Don't make a fuss. I still have work to deal with. I am worried about her staying at home. I called her twice before the game, but no one answered. Infinite fear came over me, and I changed my clothes and went home regardless of the obstruction. When I opened the door, I saw her sleeping soundly on the sofa, and my favorite soup was still cooking in the kitchen. The bubbling sound of gurgling filled the whole room. I walked into the kitchen and turned off the fire. As the bubbling sound disappeared, my heart calmed down. I squatted beside the sofa and looked at Songjie's peaceful face. I have never been so grateful as at this moment. It was just a phone call that woke her up. The phone should be muted. It's okay. It's good to have some black material now. You have traffic before entering the entertainment industry. I smiled and hugged her tightly, kissed her frowning brows. I'm rushing back to drink the soup you made. Right, she is easy to coax. It will be fine after a while. The high school group is still chatting lively. Suddenly someone sent a blurry photo. Songjie enlarged the photo again and again, and she pointed at the person behind her in the photo and asked me, "Hey, is this you?" It seemed to be an event in the first year of high school. Reborn on the day I met Lindsayson. I've always been behind you, but you never look back. So I can only run to your side. She was confused, and suddenly looked up and asked me, "Tell me the truth, when did you start to like me?" "Yeah, a long time ago. I can't remember clearly. When I was 6 years old, my father, whom I had never met, came to my house. My mother quarreled with him in the house because he had another family. I sat helplessly at the door of my house. 6-year-old Songjie took my hand and said to me, 'Adults quarreling is adult business. We are children. Children just need to grow up well and try to be an adult who will not make mistakes.' Maybe a seed was planted at that time. The seed slowly sprouted, then slowly grew up. It can bloom.